So, hi, I'm Dawn Michelle, President and CEO of the Troy, Maryville, St. Jacob Marine Chamber of Commerce. I am welcoming today on the podcast staff from Hoyleton Youth and Family Services, specifically Adam and Caitlin. Adam and Caitlin, welcome to the Hoyleton Podcast, we will call this today, because we're featuring Hoyleton Youth and Family Services. Caitlin, tell us a little bit about the Hoyleton Youth. Let's start with that, and then we'll go with Family Services.
Yeah, so Hoyleton Youth, well, we serve a lot of youth in our agency in a lot of different ways. As an agency as a whole, so we have a foster care section of our agency where we serve youth in care. We have a Life Set program, which serves kind of those older youth that are looking to transition, looking to learn like independent skills, help with housing, things like that. Me and Adam work in our behavioral health team. So we see a lot of kids for counseling services. We do family counseling, just any needs that the youth might have. We collaborate with caseworkers and help with what needs the children might have.
Very nice. And Adam, give us the and family services portion.
Yeah, that's pretty much everybody else, right? We have been youth and family services since not quite our inception. Hoyleton's been around for over 125 years. We started as a child orphanage, kind of grew into youth-driven services, specific, like Caitlin was saying, for kids that were involved with DCFS care. It's only been probably about the last decade or so that we really built a purposeful behavioral health or clinical program with outpatient services. So we serve individuals who have Medicaid or Medicaid eligible, and there's no age gap or age range. We basically say 5 and up. So we do see adults, maybe without kids. We do, like Caitlin said, we provide therapy for families, even couples counseling. We really try to focus on meeting people where they are and what they need from us as far as our service delivery array that we have. So behavioral health, we cover everything from outpatient services. We do community counseling. So we'll meet literally when we say we'll meet you where you are. We do in-home counseling. We have community-based mental health case management. We have wraparound programs and services, including the Pathways to Success. So it really is an all-encompassing approach to care that we try to focus on.
I want to talk about, though, mental health stigma, because it's out there. And sometimes people think, oh, I don't need it, or, oh, that's for people who have mental health issues. Talk about the stigma and maybe how far it's come, because as far as I'm concerned, the younger generation gets it. And they understand that, we need to help all of us, a whole body here. Talk about what the stigma is and maybe how people can think beyond that.
What comes to mind for me is sometimes when we do get families in the door, like a group, if it's working with foster parents, bio parents, the child, usually there might be some sort of stigma related to the services we're providing, like, oh, my kid's not that bad, they don't need this, or fear of judgment in the community for getting those services. And like with Adam said, meeting the clients where they're at, it's so important when we're working with kids to ask them where they want to be met with that. Because sometimes it's easy to see them in school, but we've had a lot of kids that will say, you know what, like, can you not come to my school? I don't want the other kids seeing me pulled out. So yes, it has improved. I think we've done a lot of work to kind of, break some barriers with the stigma of mental health. But I think it's still there of, fear of judgment. I think part of our role whenever we encounter that is to provide that psychoeducation about mental health, and that you don't necessarily need to come into therapy with a problem.
Right.
It could just be you want to take care of your mental health and you want to continue being well. So it's just someone to talk to every week to kind of maintain that for you, or it could be having a small issue, or it could be a big issue. But we talk to a lot of people in the community just to provide that education about mental health, and what therapy is, because sometimes it seems scary. And people have these expectations based on like movies or whatever you see out in the world about therapy. So it's helpful actually meeting some of the people that provide these services, and to recognize it's not as scary as what we might think it is.
Takes
Yeah,
a lot
and
of guts to make that first call. I mean, for
Yes.
some people, it absolutely does. And I think from the other side, if we hear someone going, to not judge them, and you have an intake. So I don't know anything about in mental health, let's say, and what I need, but I know I'm having some problems. Tell me about that process. Do I just pick up the phone and call somebody?
yeah, it really is that simple. And when we say simple, we know it's not simple, right? I mean, when we talk about the stigma tied to it, and to expand on what Caitlin was saying, the the resistance comes from so many different areas. So many people still think, oh, if you're seeing a counselor or you're seeing a doc or you're on medication for this, that, or the other, that's a sign of weakness. And everything that I've seen and everybody that I've worked with through my own counseling, I feel like it is the opposite of weakness. It is an ability to reflect on, I can't do this alone. And we know nobody can do life alone. I mean, we are a belonging society. We're the human race. We need people and connection to thrive. The more, and what we've seen, not to get off on a tangent, but like what we've seen from COVID is there are some good things and some bad things that have come from it. Most of the bad is the isolation,
Yeah.
all,
Yeah.
all of the stuff tied to the physical health aspects of COVID. Not to
Well, I
say
can
there's
tell
good
you,
that's come
I'm a
out of
big
it.
advocate of mental health, a counseling, helping, medication, and I talk about it. I'll talk about in public that I go to a counselor and that I'm on Adderall, and you will see some people cringe, like, I can't believe you said that. And I want to be that person out there going, it's okay, look at me, because I wouldn't be this way, I guarantee you, without what I'm getting. And so I encourage people to step out. Let's talk about confidentiality, because I think one of the misconceptions is that you can tell people what you hear at the counseling session or in the group session, and I know that that's huge. That's huge for you guys.
As far like respecting people's
Yeah,
confidentiality.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yes, that's one of the first things that we talk to clients about whenever they come to our door, even if it's youth and the caregivers, what are we going to be communicating to the parent to protect that, the privacy of the child too, because they absolutely have rights, and we have to respect their confidentiality. But I know sometimes kids can be hesitant to have us talking to caregivers. But if you're having those conversations right up front of, hey, this is when I would have to break confidentiality, and explaining that very clearly to all the parties involved. Um, if there is like a child wants us to talk to their teacher, we have a form, it's called a release of information, but it very specifically outlines like what I can and can't say to the teacher, because it is so important to keep everything confidential. And if we have clients in the lobby, like respecting if people are trying to have conversations with us out there, hey, let's go to a private space. We have a lot of private spaces here. We have a family therapy room, play therapy, art therapy room, all of our counseling offices. But yeah, I don't know if Adam wants to say anything more on that.
Yeah, I mean, confidentiality is huge, because that's one of the core principles of why counseling can be so effective. Because when you think about it, you're like, oh, well, I talked to my friends about this, that, and the other. Well, your friends aren't bound by their license and their credentials, and like restricted by law on what they can and can't share with other people. So having somebody that up front, even though this is a stranger, essentially, like there is that building. of trust, and that is what the therapeutic relationship is built on. But one of the foundations is we are restricted. We can't share information with really anybody. And what Caitlin even alluded to, even if we get like a release to share information, it's very specific. And we go over that in detail with the person, like, okay, this is what I can share, or what do you want me to share, is usually the question of not just what I can and can't share, but like, do you want me to share this or that? And that even goes for a kid. If we're seeing kids or adolescents, usually the magic age is like 13, that restricts like what we can and can't share with parents. But even in that therapeutic relationship with a teenager, we'll tell both the youth and the parents, all right, these are things that I will share with you, regardless of if your child wants me to share this with you or not. And if these are the kind of the general things, everything else is off limits, and it's usually tied to like harm, whether that's potential self-harm or it's harming other people. Those are kind of the big picture things that like we cannot not share that. We're actually bound by law to share information if it's necessary to protect that individual. But outside of that, we're bound by these restrictions, which is, like I said, it's some of the core of why therapy can exist.
And I talked about that because sometimes people, again, like you watch a movie or something and they share, and it doesn't happen that way. That's not reality. In fact, where I go to counseling, you enter in one door and you exit the other so that you don't come in contact with, others waiting, or, people are embarrassed, or it doesn't matter. It's very confidential. I want to just touch on that because I hear people asking that. What I found interesting, you have 8 dimensions of wellness, and I'd love to just quickly touch on that and tell me what that means and how it works. And I was fascinated, by the way, by the whole chart.
Yeah, Andrea sent a nice graphic with that. I would say, I think this resonates with us and our team and Hoyleton as a whole, but we operate on a holistic approach. So we're not just seeing people and focusing on the emotional side or the thought side, or just limiting it to that. Often our families come into us, and like you said earlier, they may not know what they need. They may not know what services, what all is going on, but the 8 dimensions of wellness it's all about integrating. They all intertwine and play off of each other. And it helps just to achieve overall wellness. So some of them are emotional, spiritual, financial, social, occupational, intellectual, environmental, if I didn't say that one, but they all are so important, and they all work together to be well. And that's what we can help our clients with, is maybe they come to us and they are struggling with keeping their lights on, or with having food. Well, it's hard to focus on maybe a mental health concern when these needs are not being met yet. So how can we work with our families to make sure we're helping them with all of these areas? Because it's so important in overall having a healthy mental health state.
And just probably another one, because I do think you missed it, Caitlin, by accident, was physical. And
Yes.
and really the point I wanted to chime in with this to build on what Caitlin was saying is mental health care is healthcare. And that is where I think stigma has started, the ball rolling to make some change with general population. More people are seeing and thinking that mental health care is healthcare. It's not this separate entity that, okay, we're going to go to this person who's going to treat, your mind, and then we're going to go to your primary care doc who's going to treat your body. Everybody in the medical field, the behavioral health field, is recognizing these things aren't working separately. What's going on with your physical health will affect your mental health, and vice versa. What's going on with your mental health is going to affect your physical health. Not potentially, it will. There's plenty of evidence to show the link that we have with how we're thinking, how our emotions are affecting us, and vice versa, and how our body and physical state is affecting our emotions and mental health.
So if someone called about any of these, you have specialists there that specialize in, I assume, a wide variety of topics.
Yeah, we do have a lot of counselors who do some specialty work. Like Caitlin was alluding to, we have a nurturing parenting program and a trauma-focused CBT, so it's cognitive behavioral therapy that really focuses on traumatic experiences and events. And then we have other families and their therapists. So we have some marriage and family therapists. We have some individuals who focus just in general counseling practice. And then we also have social workers who focus on the clinical aspect of social work. So we really, like we said, we really try to hire people who can touch each aspect. And then we try to link clients with, specialties whenever possible. If we've got a clinician who works better with little kids, we try to get them little kids. If we have a clinician who works better with different ages, whether that's adolescents or young adults, we try to focus in that. And then we also have a couple of clinicians who have gone through EMDR training, which is a specific counseling practice intervention for individuals who have experienced serious trauma. And it's a sensory therapy that helps to reprogram the mind and how that person experiences that trauma, or if they have flashbacks, things that are tied to the traumatic experience, so that they can essentially reset and reprogram, so that then they can use healthy interventions when things affect them or trigger them.
And I wanted to add, I think our team is really great about identifying if there's an additional need that maybe they're not the best for that. Do we have somebody in-house? Do we refer out? Adam mentioned the nurturing parenting program, but that is a trauma-informed parenting curriculum for a specific population. And often with that, the worker is doing parenting lessons with the parent. Well, they might also need mental health counseling. So then we link them up with one of our therapists. So then that parent educator and therapist are working collaboratively with the client. And then often there might be other needs, and we hook them up with our family support specialists that can help with housing, budgeting, help with power bills and things like that. So we're wrapping up the clients, and we often collaborate in that way when working. And that's all, we're hitting the 8 dimensions of wellness, looking at clients in a holistic lens.
And I think they come with one problem, and then you see additional ways that you can assist. There are other resources out there, whether it's Hoyleton or whether you find them somewhere.
Right.
And sometimes people don't know, what they need. Anything else to add to today's? You guys are wonderful, by the way, a wonderful podcast, because I think that if this helps one person, but I think it's going to help more. I do have one question. How do we pay for your services?
So Hoyleton is a Medicaid agency. So unfortunately, the population that we serve is Medicaid or Medicaid eligible. We unfortunately don't have anything else set up yet. We are making steps because, again, we've just started our behavioral health program less than 10 years ago. So there's a lot of building and growing. If somebody does have private insurance, so like the Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare of the world, I would definitely advise them to call their insurance company to see who's in network, and also ask their friends, because sometimes the best referrals are people that because again, you're calling up a stranger saying, "Hey, I want to talk to you about counseling," and some of the best advice that I could give people is, as an individual seeking out services, just like you would with your doctors, get second opinions. Interview your therapist. If your therapist that you're seeing isn't okay with you asking them questions, you might want to find somebody that is, if that's what you need. Because any therapist that I know that is reputable would not have any problem answering any questions or saying, all right, I can't, if it's something personal, they might not be able to answer it, but they should be able to tell you that because it is a relationship that you're going to be building. So it's really important to find those resources. Now, if you don't have Medicaid, you don't know, and you're seeking services, you can definitely call Hoyleton. If we can't provide those services, we can try to link you up with somebody who might be able to get you, or at least give you some resources on where you might be able to go.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
We do have a few like contracts. So the nurturing parenting and trauma focused cognitive behavioral therapy, that is through the Family First Act with the state. So we have contracts if you meet a certain population and are looking for specific interventions like that, we do have those available. So again, yeah, just calling and reaching out and asking, and we can help maybe guide in the right direction.
And we also have some chamber members, a couple that offer the counseling. I think it's a great balance. So if you have Medicaid, you have an option. If you have insurance, you have an option. If you're self-pay, you have an option. That's wonderful. Where are you located? Would someone just stop by, or do you think they should call first?
I would probably say calling first would be best. Because we're a service delivery agency, we can't really like give tour, like you wouldn't be able to check in with somebody until we were able to get information on if you were going to be able to receive services or not. So I would definitely call our main number, which we can share that with Dawn with you at the end, if you want to post that or add that to the podcast.
I will. And the website is very good, by the way.
Yeah, Hoyleton, it's just hoyleton.org, is a really good link to be able to see all the different services and programs that we have. And then that also has our phone number that you can reach out to us.
I was fascinated when I did some research yesterday on all the services that you offer. I mean,
there's a lot.
I had no idea. Like I just kept going and going, and just to know that that's available in the community. So parents, anyone who hears this podcast that's interested, we're going to have the contact information below. Kaylin, Adam, you guys were fantastic today. You did a great job marketing Hoyleton Youth and Family Services. I hope everyone has a fantastic mental health day, correct? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.